Square is rising. It looks to me as if more and more people are coming. Shireen, they're taking an immense risk, aren't they?
Yes, they are, and it really is apparent when you're looking at these scenes of the injured being brought in minute by minute, just how much of a battle is taking place in those side streets. I just want to bring you up to date with some news that is coming through to us now, that the Deputy Prime Minister is saying that elections will happen on time with or without the Cabinet. That, of course, in reaction to the news that the Cabinet has submitted its resignation to the Supreme Council of the Armed Forces. The Supreme Council of the Armed Forces saying that they have not yet responded, or they have not yet made a decision on whether or not to accept that resignation. Now, I want to go straight to our guest here, IHoudaiby. You're a political analyst and also an Egyptian. You've been down here in Tahrir Square. I want to get your reaction to this news of a submission of resignation by the Cabinet.
The resignation tackles the wrong question to start with. I mean, our problem is not with the cabinet. Our problem is with the SCAF. What happened last Saturday means one simple thing. The SCAF has lost its legitimacy. It had de facto legitimacy to run the country for an interim period. Now it has lost this legitimacy due to the lack of competency, there is to say. They lack the competence to lead the country in this very critical situation. So the only question remaining now is how to ensure the transition of power, a very prompt transition of power. This has nothing to do with the cabinet. This has to do with the SCAF. The SCAF is illegitimate now.
So what effect will it have if indeed the cabinet is dissolved?
I don't think it has any effect. The cabinet was no more than a secretary for the SCAF. They never had any real powers. Our problem is it's very hard for me to even recall the Prime Minister's name. He is inexistent in my book.
Sure, but we still have an interior minister that takes care of the security service, the tourism minister that takes care of tourism. How practically will the country go on without a government?
We have a Ministry of Interior that only threatens the people's security. We have a Ministry of Information that only spreads wrong information, manipulates facts, on-ground facts. So if these two ministries disappear, Egyptians' lives would be much easier. Those ministries are like more harmful than useful. Their existence is of no use to the Egyptians.
I want to take you back to Saturday morning, right here in Tahrir Square, about 250 people or so that had camped out from the Friday protest. The police came in, dealt with them with a very heavy hand, and then all of this started to kick off, the violence and the big protests. Why is it that this is happening now? We've seen other types of violence. We saw in October when the military vehicles were running over protesters and 27 people were killed. Why do you think that this reaction, people coming to Tahrir, is happening now?
There are several factors. There's an escalating anger towards the SCAF, and of course an escalating anger towards the Ministry of Interior. In every single incident, the Ministry of Interior has confronted the people. No matter how small the numbers were, people gathered quickly to respond to the attacks of the Ministry of Interior. This is a long battle, and every person who has a little bit of wisdom in this country knows that we still have a very long way to go with the Ministry of Interior to reform it. This institution of oppression has to be completely dismantled and then rebuilt to serve the interests of the Egyptian people, of the Egyptian taxpayers, not of the American taxpayers, not of those who send these tear gas bombs, and those who send. I mean, we have enough evidence to say that the state security apparatus, for instance, has stronger ties with the American intelligence than it has with the Egyptian people. So this institution, whenever it's there on the streets against the Egyptian people, people would gather very fast to take a position against it.
IHoudaiby, thank you so much for joining us here this evening on Al Jazeera. Well, as you could hear there from Ibrahim, he